Maryland primary, just the latest in a long list of primary elections that could be a clue as to what we'll expect in the general election come fall. Jack and Kevin back here to talk about what we're going to see looking at these results. So there was a big push in Michigan when there was that Democratic primary for president where they were telling people write in uncommitted as a protest against how the Biden administration for its support for Israel. We saw about 9% of the vote in Maryland say uncommitted, but do you see a schism there that would concern you versus what you saw in a place like Michigan?
Well, certainly Michigan, just by its very nature, concerns me more because it's part of that blue wall, and that had a much higher number of uncommitted votes. There was a concerted campaign run in Michigan. I didn't see much of that in Maryland in terms of social media and organizing. So clearly, 9% is certainly a lot better than 20%. My concern for, speaking as a Democrat, but the concern for Donald Trump is still this persistent vote for Nikki Haley, even in places like West Virginia and Nebraska, deeply red states that were also holding their primaries tonight as well. That'll be interesting to see if he can coalesce that base of support and if, we can bring back those uncommitted folks to the president.
Considering what we saw on college campuses, and there are certain tensions out there existing right now, and we have sort of some inconsiderate, irregular messaging from the White House on how to approach Israel. Are we supporting Israel? Are we saying ease up a little bit? How much is that going to factor into the general election?
This is a very interesting question because, I just came back from Duke. You asked me what I do this weekend. I didn't get a chance to answer. Yeah. My son graduated from Duke. Seinfeld was the speaker. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Amazing. One of the greatest commencement speeches I've ever heard in person, TV, whatever. And what people don't get is that who cares that 15 people walked out before he spoke? It was his message. And his message resonated. And it was a message of working hard. And yeah, you can have your passion, but work hard, nose to the grindstone, love, and be proud of your heritage, who you are, your background. It's sort of like the anti-woke, anti-ESG, sort of focus on excellence and your core mission, do good at the same time, and don't be ashamed of who you are. I think parents who are cheering for this speech, it sort of encapsulates how upset people actually are at how radicalism has taken over a lot of campuses, and they're spending good money so that their kids can be in encampments, or they can be harmed by not being able to study because they're hearing the chants. So I don't know how it's going to factor, but I do know that there is a frustration out there, and that Seinfeld, in a way, encapsulated sort of this, let's return to normalcy.
Mm-hmm. As we look at Maryland, and then in the bigger picture, if this seat were to flip, like Pennsylvania flipped, you went from Pat Toomey to John Fetterman, that essentially determined control. Conventional wisdom says Democrats have a very good chance at flipping the House. The Senate is in doubt, especially with West Virginia, with Jim Justice very likely to assume the seat of Joe Manchin. So what should the focus be? I mean, there's always been a reticence sometimes to not focus on the right races, putting money. Democrats thought that they would defeat Marjorie Taylor Greene. They send millions and millions of dollars to the guy. There was no chance in hell that a Democrat would beat Marjorie Taylor Greene. Are you concerned as a Democrat that might be the focus on the Senate side? Some of these seats that are unwinnable for Democrats. They did that to Mitch McConnell years ago, too. That didn't flip.
Well, we saw that with, remember, Lindsey Graham is a great example, too, in South Carolina. I think, God love him, our incredible DNC chair raised, hundreds of millions of dollars in a really tough race in a state like South Carolina. I think hopefully we'll get a little smart about it, prioritize, because to your point, Jim, we are on defense in a lot of key states that are going to be difficult. States like not just West Virginia, not just even Pennsylvania, but Montana, Nevada, some of these other key battleground states where you're going to see a lot of money. Wisconsin is one of them as well with Tammy Baldwin. I think it's a really good shot that we take back the House of Representatives. You bring up Maryland 6, that's going to be critical. I think one of the interesting things to come out of tonight on the House level is the fact that Maryland is about to potentially go from a delegation of 0 women in our federal delegation to 3 in one election cycle, with Sarah Elriff, April Delaney, and with Angela Alsobrooks. But certainly, the Senate is going to be a key defensive play.
I just got 30 seconds, so Jack, whatever you want to say, wrap it up. Take us home.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, the House is definitely in play. A lot of the Republicans that have said they're resigning, they're stepping down, are in safe seats. But when it comes to the Senate, I mean, it's a tough road for the Democratic Party to
Yeah.
try to win this thing, and I think that it's definitely a 50-50 shot. They probably take it by one. We'll see how former President Trump, works with those candidates and whether they're on the same page or whether there's the kind of tension that occurred in Georgia in 2021.
Well, let me tell you, I was home over the weekend and I saw a lot of Dave McCormick ads in Pennsylvania. The Republicans are spending at least on the Senate level there. Kevin Walling and Jack Kalavritinos both live in studio. Guys, good to see you both. Thank you both for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
And the Final Five is back right after this.